Hey everybody, and welcome back. Right, well, not much to say again this week. Everything's been very quiet, so we'll get straight on with talking about the bike. Alright, so we're going to do, as I mentioned, things to finish off the swinging arm. So that is a torque arm on this side, I don't know if you can see what I'm pointing at, and the prop stand on this side, and then on the other side we've got the chain tension to do. I've also got another couple of little jobs, and I've done a couple of little jobs which I'll show you in a second. I still haven't made these supports down here for this plate that the dash plate's mounted on, so we're going to do that. That's really easy. I'm just going to cut two triangles. I think I might even make them at 1/4 inch and then cut a hole in the centre so it's not too big and heavy, and it'll be bronzed up the seat pillar, bronzed at the bottom, and it'll catch this nut, and I'll bronze that in, and that'll be a captive nut for when we put that in. Alright, can't think of anything else. So, one of the jobs that I've done is I did that little cutout, well, just slightly slimmed the swinging arm on the other side, and so now that spins without any problem with the bolt heads. I did get a mention of putting the sprocket on with countersunk ones, which of course would have made them completely flat with the sprocket, and I must admit I did think about that. It suddenly struck me, I thought, whoa, countersunk bolts. But when I looked, the bolt hole of the mounting plate was too close to the edge to be able to do a countersink. But as it happens, as I say, I actually have the ordinary hex head ones in, so I made it so that there was no problem. Right, let's get on. First thing I want to show you is the saddle, because I've done a little bit of work on that while you were away enjoying yourselves. Right, well, first of all, we have the saddle itself, which I got back from the upholsterer, and see, look, he did a proper job with seams and everything. So that fits on and goes around the mudguard and everything's nice. So the next thing was how to mount the base. And I put my little grommet in there. I thought about this, you remember I was just going to put clips, but there was virtually no space here to get the clips in, and then they were either sitting too high, or the ones I got that were lower actually went so far down they caught on the oil tank, so I couldn't put them on. I thought about putting a little bit of plate on each side to make it flat, and then using Velcro, but I didn't think that would be good enough. So in the end, what I decided to do was, you remember the seat pan comes to here, to extend it. Well, I also thought of extending it just back and drilling it there and tapping it, putting a little bolt in, because I didn't want to put a bolt here. I thought that would look really strange, just the strip and then a bolt head. I didn't like the idea of that. So then I thought maybe I could get it to go behind these. So what I did was I made some little extra pieces that go in so that it'll slip on there like that, into the front, down onto there, then it bolts up tight. As I say, I didn't want to have a bolt head there. This actually is the beauty of this way of doing a saddle, in that if I'd have had the pad upholstered to this, I mean, I'd have been stumped. I'd have to take the upholstery off and everything. But I just take the pad off, and I can weld brackets on. I can do what the hell I like. So let me bolt the pad on. Tell you what. Bolt the pad on. And I was rather pleased with the way it came out, actually. When I went to collect this, I very rarely see the upholsterer. In fact, I mentioned to you that he couldn't tear himself away from his calculations last time I went. But anyway, he was there. So I went in, of course, because I never meet him. He didn't know me from Adam. So I said, I've come to collect a motorcycle saddle. And he said to me, saddle, you mean a seat? So I said, no, cars have seats, motorcycles have saddles. Anyway. This really has caused me a lot of thought over the last few weeks how I was going to fasten this. Right, so that goes on. That fits in the front. That goes in there. Doesn't look too bad, does it? I polished it up and then I thought, oh, I might be going to paint this. I just did a couple of little curvy bits as well. You might remember that was square, just to make it all look better. So okay, that is that done. Tighten those up both sides and that will not come off. So now let's do those little triangular plates. Well, as I said, this isn't much as a job goes. All I've done is cut a little piece of cardboard, which is going to go in there like that. Bronze it up, bronze it round, and you see this side is like that. That will go up the nut. So I'll just go in there like that. I was thinking these were going to be bigger. I'm not going to drill a hole in them. I was going to put a hole in there. I was imagining them, I don't know, like a big plate, but they're not. So as I say, I might cut them at 1/4 inch. I'll look to see what I've got. 1/8 inch is probably strong enough for it. But I'll go and look in my stock, see what there is. Oh, by the way, one thing. This is only Monday, so I don't know, I might get a comment about it. But when I mentioned Blue Peter last time, Blue Peter was a children's programme. When they used to have real children's programmes that sort of treated children much more intelligently, I think, than they do now. And they were always making things. You know, let's make a nuclear reactor out of a toilet roll, centre and a piece of string type thing. And they would always have one, you know, they would show what they were going to do, and then they'd have one, which, as they always said, it became a catchphrase. And here's one I made earlier. So that's what I was referring to. Anyway, let me go and cut this. So I found some 4130, which was 160 thou, something like that. So we're going to put that in there like thus. Put my helmet on and we'll just spot it for the moment. Actually, one nice thing about this HTP welder is it actually has a spot function, so that you can set the amperage and the time it's on, and then you just put your pedal all the way down and it stays on. It comes on, stays on at maximum amps for whatever you set it to, and then goes off. Having said that, of course, I'll probably make a mess of it. Mind your eyes. Just like that. Very good. All right, I'll just put a few tacks on, I think. I could I'll just tack it up in a bunch of places. Maybe put some bronze round the nut, and then I'll show you it then. And that's it, simple as that. I put a little bit of bronze along the bottom and a couple of bits for that. And of course taking the bolt out because it was stainless in stainless, so as soon as I sort of touched that there, I got the nut out, the bolt out, so it didn't go all in there. So that's done. I'll do the other side, and that's that job done. We'll move on to the brake torque arm. Alright, rear brake torque arm. I'm going to go from here to there. We're going to make it out of 1/2 inch 4130, because I have some. I unfortunately don't have a long enough piece to go there. So what we're going to do is we're going to make it in 2 pieces. And 1/2 inch 16th wall, of course, leaves us with a 3/8 ID. So we'll make 2 pieces up, and then when we've got everything right, we'll slip a little piece of 3/8 inside, and that will be absolutely fine. Because I don't want to wait to have to buy some more. Right, this hole is almost ½ inch, which of course is far too big for anything. We want it to be 3/8. So again, we're going to use some of this. I'm going to run a ½ inch ream through it, and then a piece of that will just nicely go in to sleeve it to take a 3/8 bolt. So let's get this ream. Let me go and get a little bit of lubricant. Right, off we go. As I say, it was very close to being ½ inch. In fact, it might even just have been that it wasn't perfectly round. Hopefully very good. Yep, nice tight fit. Right, so I'll cut. Yeah, really nice tight fit. There we go. Clean that out. Then I'll cut a tiny little piece to fit in there, and we're in business. So I made a little piece to go in here. There we go. Now a nice 3/8 bolt will go through that. Very good. Right, so the next thing we've got to do is we need a flat and a flat. So we'll mill a slot in these to take the flat. Put it at a slight angle like that. Put the other one at a slight angle so that they match up. That angle's too big, of course. So let me go and find some 1/8 inch, I think. Now then, I thought it was a bit strange I didn't have any ½ inch tubes, so I had a rummage around in my stock and I found a long piece. And as I say, this is 4130. So, if I was clever with measurements and things, I'd measure these angles and all that sort of stuff, but I'm not. So we'll do it the bodge way. What I've done is I've made up the 2 end pieces. Now as I say, what we're going to do with these in the end is we're going to slot this on the mill and slide that into there, and then we'll round these corners off and make it all look nice. So in the meantime, what we're going to do is we're going to put one on there. Hang on, I just put that through that hole. That is close. I'll ease that out a little bit maybe. There we go. So we're going to put that on there. I don't know if I made that long enough. Yeah, I should have made that longer, shouldn't I? Damn. And we're going to put this one on there. Regular viewers will know that I am always having trouble with threads on the backs of things. There it goes. I put a bit of red Loctite on the sleeve I put in this hole, and that's going to go on there like that. Should have made them far longer, shouldn't I? Well, the idea is that that's going to bend out a bit and that's going to bend in, because, hold on. Right, while I walked over there to get this ruler, I had a thought. that is 5/16, right? This is 1/2 inch. I could mount that on the inside of that and that on there, just cut out a little bit there, cut this to length, cut out a little bit on this side, and instead of slotting it on, it can be on there. That'll work. That will work. If it won't work, we can make another one. So it wants to be, it's going to go from there. $10". Right, let me go and cut a piece of this 10 inches long, and then we'll come back and try that. So, what we're going to do, you see, is we're going to mount that on the front of that, and that on the back of that. We'll just take a little bit, we'll mill us flat on opposite sides, put it in there like that. See if that's on flat. I don't even know if I need to mill a slot. A flat rather. No, I don't think I do. And then I can just bronze this in situ. I think I'll put a very small flat on just to make it easier to hold it and put a little clamp on. Take these off, give them a clean, give this all a clean up. Let me through that. So, I think I've got everything ready. Put these on, tighten them up a little bit, and check that they are straight to each other. Then I have my piece of tube, the flat on that side, the flat on the opposite side. We'll put that on there. That on there. That looks pretty good. So let's see about sticking some bronze on there. Then what we'll do is we'll, cut the ends at a little bit of an angle and seal them up and make it put a curve on these. But what am I going to do with that? That's what I want. Mind your eyes. Okay, that's that on there. Now let's see if we can do a little bit of upside down. And that is that on there. So we'll let those cool, take them off, finish bronzing them. And that's that. So as I say, I'll finish bronzing them, cut the ends at a slight angle, fill the ends up, and then we'll make it all look pretty. Right, I've tidied up the ends, put the slope in there and rounded those out. So this is going to go one on there, one in there. So that's like that. Now I'm not going to tighten them up because I'm going to take the wheel out in a second. Struck me what I haven't done is put the little stops for the wheel adjusters to butt up against. So we're going to make some measurements, take the wheel out, and then I'll show you how I'm going to measure it to make the important measurements, like to make sure it's exactly the same distance from the swinging arm pivot to there and the same height in the wheel mounting plate. So let me take the wheel out. Now I've checked the slots and they're the same distance from up here on both sides, so we're alright there. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this in, push it up that way as far as it'll go. Then we're going to mark where, I'm not going to use the very first one because there's a lot of, oh, do I need to use the first one? Alright, we'll use the first one. We're going to mark that, so that's where that is. We're going to put that there. Then this is 3/4 of an inch. So we want to be up from there 3/8. Right. Now, although they are more or less exactly the same on both sides, they might be fractionally different. So what I'm actually going to do is measure from here to up to the swinging arm. And then I'll be alright. And I can measure, though I know that this is horizontal, so I can use that bottom as my datum, straight line, and come up. So that's where we're going to put it. Alright. I'm doing this for the second time because the battery went halfway through last time. So what I've done to check my measurements, because I've just marked the other side, is fortunately, because this swinging arm pivot bolt I made so I faced off each side, it's got the, you know, like the tree growth ring, the slight swirl marks which I left in, so I can spot the exact centre there. So what I've done, because they're offset now, don't want to be doing it at an angle, I've got my little square on here at 0, put that on there, and it's 14¼ inches. Did the same on the other side, 14¼ inches. I measured up from there 3/8, so we spot on both sides. So let me get, I don't know, start the drill and the appropriate size metric drill and tap and everything. We'll do this side. So I have drilled my hole, tapped my thread, Untitled chamfer in, and here is my 5 by 0.8. Come on now. Now I'll leave this until it's all painted, and then I'll put that in with some red Loctite. So that goes on there. There we go. So let me go and drill and tap the other side, put that one in, and then we're going to look at the chain tensioner. Put that one in this side, but before I put the wheel back in, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this bracket off. I was hoping to use that to mount the chain tensioner, but because of the size of the sprocket, the chain tensioner would end up being sort of pointing down like that, and I don't want that. It needs to be mounted further back. So I'll just whip it off with a cutting disc, and then we can grind the welding that off and tidy it all up when we actually come to finish the swinging arm off and it's out of the bike. So let me go and get a cutter. Now don't get confused, you haven't skipped a video or something. You remember when I put these on, certainly when I tightened this one up, the camshaft wouldn't turn and I had to fiddle about with them. Well, I wasn't happy with it and I was planning to look at it again, and then today at lunchtime I checked to see if there was any comments, and there was one from, I'm going to look your name up because it was really good, and he mentioned about those plates which are of course in effect thrust washers, and that some of the aftermarket ones weren't exactly the right size and that there should only be a couple of, well, I think he said 5 thou plate and everything. So I thought, right, so I came back out, and as I couldn't find the chain tensioner pieces that I was going to use, and I had to phone Mike to see if he had some more, I thought, let me look at this. So what I did was I took it all off and I checked the thickness of the new plate with the old one, and it was actually, it was a couple of thou thinner, but it was, you know, basically the same. The old one was 115 thou, this one was 113, this one was 112, I think. So that should be fine. So I couldn't understand why it locked up the camshafts. So of course what happens is the camshaft has a little shoulder on which fits, which as it comes through, if you imagine this is the thrust washer, it comes through and it's just proud, so that when this wheel is pressed on, it's pressed on the end of that and it's not touching the thrust washer. So I checked, I put them on the surface plate with some die-chem on. There was no warping, no lumps, nothing like that. So the only thing I could think of was the screw heads. So what I did was, I suppose I should have filmed it, but anyway, I made up 3 new of the Allen ones, made sure, absolutely sure that they were flush with the plate, put it all back together again. These wheels have been pulled on as tight as they'll go. These nuts are tightened up. See, no problem. So I know a couple of you have got 350s and 500s to work on, and I suppose this is true for the 650s as well. So make absolutely sure your plates are the right thickness, that they're flat, and in particular, I think what was happening was those screw heads were catching. They were just slightly proud. Maybe because you remember they'd been punched to hold them off. I think maybe the punch mark was just stopping them seating completely all the way. They were going in tight, but they weren't all the way into the countersink. So anyway, I'm pleased about that, because that was worrying me a little bit. Alright, so I'm knocking off today. Tomorrow morning I'm going to Mike's to get the chain tensioner stuff. See you then. Well, we live in a world of constant change, don't we? Before I forget, Richard Andrews sent me the comment about checking those plates, so thank you very much for that. I always really appreciate sort of useful information, things I don't know, and constructive criticism. So thanks again for that. I'm sure that will be of a lot of use to those couple of people who mentioned they were going to work on 350s and 500s. Right, the only other thing is plans changed. I couldn't go to Mike's, so I didn't get the bits for the chain tensioner. So we're going to do the prop stand, sort of, because I don't have a spring and I'll get the spring off Mike. But we'll do everything else until I can get to Mike's later in the week. Alright, so let's press on. Now I've been sitting here for quite a while thinking about this because I've hit a couple of snags. This is right sort of, if I have that out there so that will fit into its pivot point. The pivot point's got to be right out here. Can't get hold of that now. Anyway, the pivot point would have to be right out to clear that, and that would then, you see, make this come way out here, which I don't want. Now, I've got to put it on this side because on the other side, you know, it's quite busy. There's the chain guard. It's going to be right where I want the chain tensioner to be. It's going to make big difficulties. So I looked on my BSA because it's on that side, but the chain tension is mounted on the actual cross piece, or the pivot of the chain tension is on the cross piece of the swinging arm, which I can't do here because of the box design. I could do it and put a bend to bring this in, and that would reduce this, but I just had a thought. I'm going to give this some more thought. I might make a piece up to see if it'll work, but I thought, how about making it like that, so it goes underneath that. Then as this pivots, I just have it on a plain one. As this pivots to where I want it, I just have a piece on the back of this to be the stop against the swinging arm, and that I think would be a much better angle. Clear that, would just come up nicely to there. This is just a piece of 1/2 inch because it had a bend in it, but that's, you know, roughly the amount of bend I'd want in it. I could put it right there, and as I say, it would just swing around, whoops, and then stop like that. I think that would work. Let me give it a bit more thought, and if I think it's going to work, I'll put a bend in a piece of 3/4. I wonder if I've got any of that cheapy 3/4 conduit left that I could practice it with. Let me look into it. Right, well, that idea is not going to work for 2 reasons. Oh, I've taken the 1/2 inch piece away. One is, of course, that 1/2 inch piece of tube was a much smaller radius curve. The only one I've got for 3/4 is, it's not going to work. Plus, it suddenly struck me that, of course, you know, you've got to have the spring. You have one mounting here and one mounting here for the spring, and they've got to be so that the spring's under tension up there and the spring's under tension down here, and I couldn't get it with the spring. So what we're going to do is I'm going to make the piece to go there and just tack it on, and then what I'm going to try and do is, when it comes to here, I'm going to tuck it in. Hang on a minute, let me show you something. See, here's the one on the scoper. This is cast, so it's not anything, but you see all these bends? Well, what happens when that folds up, see, that's underneath the swinging arm, and then this comes out. We're going to make it sort of the opposite. It's going to be out here, and then it's going to go in, so it's tucked in out of the way. Alright, so let's start by making the mounting point. Right, well, I've leaned the bike over a bit, and this is proven to be an example of, you remember I keep telling you to tighten everything up when you're checking things because they move a little. Well, now that I've got, what I've done is I've made this piece and I've just cut a piece of tube with a hole through it. Now that I can actually hold this a little more tightly to the way it will actually be, put that so that is there. We'll put a little bit of a bend in it, but that isn't too bad, and I think we're going to be all right there as well. The spring needs to be here, just going to have to be careful. See, one thing leads on to another. We might have to finagle the brake pedal here a little bit, but that is going to have to be like that to clear that, which is pretty good. Put a rubber snubber on there. So that's going to be all right. So the next thing we need to do is to make this part. So here's the pivot mounting, which actually I think I should have made longer. I don't know what's the matter with this week. I'm making everything too short. So anyway, that would go on to the swinging arm, as we know. So what we need now is a piece. That's the 3/4 tube that we're actually going to make the prop stand out of. Now that wants to be a loose fit in here. Right, so let's say that's 750, which is actually what it is. This is actually 800. Then we make another piece which has got the 3/8 ID to take our balls, and the OD come on, fits inside there, and this is the 800 to match that gap. So when that goes in there, see, that's a tight fit in that. You put the bolt through and tighten that up, it'll clamp on that centre piece, but that piece will still turn, and that's the one that the prop stand is on, so the prop stand will move. Alright, so I might have to put another little bit on here just so that there's something for that to stop against. But in the first instance, what we're going to do now is weld our prop stand to that. Alright, so let me cut a piece of 3/4 and we'll bronze it onto there. Right, well, I've bronzed that onto there, so in effect making a little T-piece. Put the thing inside, that's tightened up, so as you can see now that's like that. So what I'm going to do now is put a little bit of wood there just to space that, so I know I'm not touching there. Right, so that's okay there. I think that actually that will act as a stop, which is good. Let me move that along a little bit. I want that to be as far in there so I can get it. I'll do those. I can just do those with a flap disc. Let's get this tacked on here. Mind your eyes. And again. Hold on a second. I've just tightened this bolt up to get the nut come in, and actually it's just to say touching on the end of the bolt. If I shortened that to be level with the nut, that would be right, but actually it could be like that anyway. But as I mentioned, can I pull you out anymore? I don't know. This angle is a bit much, so I've put a couple of little bits of blobs of weld on top of the tacks to make that a little bit fix. I can move that in a good bit. So I think what we'll do is just here and here, say, we'll put a bend in, you know, 2 bends in, and then that way to make it parallel again, put it under there. We'll see. Might be another week when we don't get finished what we thought we were going to get finished. Alright, let me go and see what I can do about putting some bends in this. Actually, I wasn't sure whether this was going to work, so I didn't start filming it. But what I've done is I put a bend in this, and then I was able to turn it over. And now I'm doing the bend the other way. And hopefully, I haven't done it too much. bring this round till they're about parallel. I think this might actually have worked. Whoa, let's go and try it. Of course, this might be one of those, I like the way you show it warts and all moments. That is going to go in there like that. Oh, I think it's just a you'll never guess what it's catching on. It's catching on that bloody cable mounting. Oh, it's just too much. Oh, it's still, I think, leaning the bike over too far. Damn. This needs some spatial thinking, so let me switch you off, because my thinking is a very slow process. Well, I've got past that. What I did was I bent this out a little bit more, so that'll jog up and hit there. I was so tempted to cut this thing back off, but I thought, no, I put it back on just in case somebody wants to have a cable operated brake from the other side. So what I'm going to do, see, I put another mark on, is how long does this want to be? Shoot, it's incredibly angled over. I'm wondering if I can bend that inwards, come right in here. I mean, I can take that in about 2 inches there. Well, all we'd be doing is making a bit of scrap. So let's try that bend. Right, well, I think I've cut too much off, but with a foot on I might be alright. But anyway, I bent this in a bit more, and when that comes up against its rubber stop, doesn't touch the brake, I've just clamped that on there. See, I could have done with being half an inch longer. Let's say I clamped this on here so that's level with the... Oh, shoot. Hang on. Let me put... I think this is going to be alright, so let me put a little bit more weld. That, of course, just bent. Let me weld something in there. I don't think that's going to come off now. With a foot on, that will be alright. So it's a real dog leg, but I think that's fine. Let me move you around. I don't think that's too much to you. Well, I didn't think I was going to get that on there. Very good. So as I say, I'll put a little bit of a foot under that, which will give us something like that. That's alright. That is fine. It's nice and strong. Funnily enough, these bends actually stiffen the tube up. Very good. Well, that's it for today. Tomorrow I'll be going to Mike's, so I'll get the bit for the spring, and I'll get the chain tensioner. So until then, bye. Right, well, it's another day. So the trip to Mike's this morning was only partly successful, apart from the cappuccino and donuts. He didn't have any of the springs for the prop stand, so that'll have to be put into abeyance. But what he did have was 3 different types of chain tensioner with the various blocks. See, the blocks go on like that. No, don't like that one. This is very much the a la Sammy Miller one, although I would say they've got the block on upside down. If the block was there, that would go like that. You see what I mean now? There's where the original mounting was. See that? That one would be, couldn't possibly use that one. But I think this one is looking to be the one. Put it about there. Oh, nice. Yeah, you can't put. Why do they have them? See, that should be on the other side. Unless the bike that this is for, the chain is on the right hand side of the bike. I might end up having to use this Sammy Miller type one. Let's take it out the bag and see. I can't get my knife back in my pocket. There we go. See, whereas if I put the, let me turn this over. Now, this is proving to be like the prop stand. A lot of thinking about. There's the spring that goes with that. It can't go on that way because we want the spring to be pushing down so that as the chain is on top of it, see the way that is, when the chain pulled down it would just go like that. Or would it? If that was fastened like Friday afternoon, I'm starting to feel it. No, it would just drop. See, it's got to be, but it won't go that way around because that is like that. Unless I made an extension on this side to put it on. Or maybe put a little stop for that there. I don't think that's not far enough over there. I have another spring. This is off a Sammy Miller one. And that one, you see, is the right way around. Because as that pulls down, if the chain tries to pull that down, it tensions it. But the spring gets completely in the way of where the chain wants to be. So I think what we're going to do is make a hybrid. And we're going to do this one, but we're going to have the spring like that. So that's going to be on there, like so. Here's something amazing. Look at that. If I just move this one tooth, But we'll leave it like that because I can see the chain. That on there like that. And then put a spring up there. Or will that one go on there? Well, maybe I could do that like that. Drill, tap, or just weld in a little stud for that to be against. But of course I'd have to put a piece out here for that to go on. Where's the little oh man, everything disappears. I need the piece that goes in the middle. Let me find that and continue thinking. Right, well, I've been playing around and playing around with these chain tensioners. I was thinking of making a straight one, all that sort of stuff, but then I think this is going to work. And what I'm going to do is, the important thing for the swinging arm is to get the bracket on. I can finagle various other bits and pieces later on. So I'm going to use this one. I made a bracket up. Got a captive nut on the back, so again we're going to have to fiddle around trying to get the spanners in the back of there. That is going to go on there like thus, because we need enough space to be able to get the bolt out. And I think that'll be alright. Now as for the spring, I think this, I'm going to have to bend this a little bit because there's sort of too much tension on, but that will go on the inside of that and not foul anything. And if that doesn't work, I can make up a little thing here, use a longer bolt. I've done that before, and put a spring up to here. But let's get it on first. The big thing is getting it on straight. So what I'm going to do is maybe get a couple of cable ties or something to hold this in tight so the chain grips, if you like, inside this, because this has got a thing down the center, so the chain will pretty much seat itself reasonably well. And as long as I've got it nice and tight, I can get a tack on, check that it's straight, and then I can get a bit of bronze on there, and then we'll take the swinging arm off. And as I say, I've got the two brackets on, they can be bronzed on, the last of the bronze done, and then I can take it apart and paint it. So let me see about rigging this up so it's held for spot welding. So I put a couple of cable ties on just to hold the chain in place, and I stuck a little bit of wood in here to sort of keep us in line, just to stand off the chain a little bit, the same as it is there. So that seemed to work pretty well. I put a couple of tacks on. And looking from down there, it seems to be about right. So I think that will work. You know, it's going to be held something like that. As I say, that's just, at the moment I think it's a bit too much. But anyway, the big thing is that's on there, that's where I want it, so now I can bronze it on properly and we can get finished. Again, can't remember the name, but somebody mentioned to just curve the back of the chain guard to match that, so I'll probably do that. He's right, it does look a little strange, that's sticking straight down, and it won't affect the actual guard part. And this is the wheel's all the way in here, so that'll all be fine. Alright, so that's it for this week. So until next week, you stay safe and enjoy yourself, and we'll close with Spot's nemesis making a short visit to the workshop. Very short actually. Bye now.